How do we categorize reality? What's the adaptive value of intolerance? Get ready for the greatest idea since sliced water. Intro music by Vopiscus. Reality is one big interconnected flux, but that's not usually helpful to know, right? We can't just say the word nature or reality and expect it to convey a whole lot of useful information. Everything is connected, but not homogeneous. We have to split it up into categories and concepts and nouns, or we'd starve trying to eat keyboards and toilet seats. If you ever edit an audio recording, you'll notice that you don't see separate sound waves for each individual word. We speak phrases, and sometimes entire sentences, in one contiguous flow of sound, and words often blend into one another at the edges. This mutating stream of sound gets in the ear, is converted into a continuous series of signals, and only once it's in the brain is it parsed into words. We can do this because words are shared categories. If I don't speak your language, I can't group your sounds to know where one word ends and another begins. We layer fictions atop reality to alter our behavior in regards to it. Prejudice triggers availability heuristics, and there's a lot of efficiency to that. But how do we come up with these categories to begin with? The difference between Tom and Jerry is easy peasy, but what about the trickier ones? Look at a virus. As it replicates, the copies produced are imperfect, each just slightly different than its parent, yet similar in more ways than not, which is why we can bundle a lungful of these microscopic missionaries under the same umbrella. So when does genetic drift become speciation? At what point do we call the virus by a different name? No matter where we draw the line between variant A and variant B, there will always be some overlap, meaning there's something false about our categorization. Yet we do it because there's enough difference between the averages of the two groupings to be functionally noteworthy, like recognizing when there's been a statistically significant decline in the efficacy of a treatment, suggesting that a new one is required because now we're up against something different. So every label is a work of fiction, but is also intended to be functionally meaningful. We have to draw a line somewhere, or we can't adaptively alter our behavior. If you can't distinguish between air and water, you might just drink air until you die of thirst. By drawing lines, we box clusters of similar phenomena into nouns, and these boxes are the building blocks of reason. The more you zoom in on any line, the fuzzier it gets, and you can always find that these rational boxes contain irrationality in the gray area of the line's thickness. This is the problem of morality. If you don't distinguish between right and wrong, you can't have a society, for the potentially infinite expansion of every individual's desires would impinge on the desires of other individuals, so that they wouldn't get along. But anywhere you draw a line is going to contain a gray area of unfairness that can't be justified in isolation. Take sexuality. Without putting boundaries on it, you end up with rape, pedophilia, sexually transmitted diseases, hatred, distrust, and murderous jealousy. So in the religious extreme, sexual intercourse is only permitted for the sake of procreation. Within the confines of a two-party opposite-sex marriage contract, missionary position, try not to enjoy it too much, don't picture your neighbor's mom, don't show your ankles in public, keep a bag over your head, cut a hole in the sheet, and so forth. Problem solved, right? Well, as a culture prospers, it expands and inevitably comes into contact with other expanding cultures, and the odds are fairly slim that they've all drawn their sex box to the exact same size and shape. Now a discussion has to take place about why I'm right and you're wrong. We get out the magnifying glass and invariably find something arbitrary about where we drew our lines. Maybe it's not so wrong to put some music on, maybe even crack a smile. And what if we sign our contract until death do us part, only to find out there's no chemistry? Could be some wisdom in a premarital test drive. So the line moves further and further out. Anyone whose desires land them not way over the line, but just barely grazing it, maybe a pinky toe, is obviously unjustly oppressed. Come on, ref, cut 'em some slack. But like the Living Sacrifice song says, compromise will bring corruption. We stop prosecuting buggery, and a few years later, everyone has AIDS. We call internet pornography an expression of free speech, and suddenly no high schooler's getting his homework done ever again, let alone getting on track to a Nobel Prize. Free the nipple and watch every graph of traffic fatalities spike like a hard-on. It sounds silly and harmless, I know, but watch as the dominoes fall, and one day the only thing left on the other side of that line will be rape, and we'll be questioning its definition. I don't pretend to know where to draw the sex lines, and I don't really care. My point is that sexual repression is just one among many murky issues of morality that allow a society to prosper, and all of those lines are going to cut through some undeserving victims, no matter how fair we try to be. Can't make an omelet without, maybe the eggs aren't to blame, but coexistence always requires some degree of sacrifice and self-restraint. This is a biological reality at all levels. Remember, society is just a higher-tier organism. The same principle applies to individuals. If you want to prosper, you have to set rules and boundaries on yourself that are in alignment with your private goals. And to some extent, those rules will be bullshit and cause you unnecessary difficulty. But without them, your distant dreams are drowned out by short-term impulses. Gotta draw the line of tolerance somewhere. Hey guys, quick note before I go. I know some of these podcast topics are a little goofy, so if you like the way I think, but you really want to take advantage of the best of what my brain has to offer, look up my books on Amazon or Audible. My first book, Augmenting Willpower, is a field manual for human psychology that emphasizes personal accountability, while my second book, An Idea is Not a Product, is a guide for building routines and systems that force you to put your money where your mouth is. Both titles are available in all formats, so you can listen to the audio on the go, easily search topics by keyword in the ebook, and the paperback fits right in your pocket.